am
Hi.
so excited to meet you and to talk about your book, Wired to Feel. Autism is a condition of sensory surplus. I cannot tell you how many times I've said those words recently because it makes so much sense. This is an explanation that I have been waiting for.
Hmm.
And I met you a year ago on a podcast that you did, and it was, I know I told you this, one of the first times I really felt seen.
Mm.
So I cannot wait to introduce you to the folks in my circle and to understand even better what you've learned over the years.
Oh, it's lovely to meet you too. Nice to be here. Thank you for having me. Thank you for reading the book.
Oh, you betcha.
I'm glad you're excited about it.
Gotcha. Okay. So the way that we're going to go through the process is what I do with all of my podcast guests is we use the peace process as the peace practice as a way to guide our way through the conversation.
Okay.
Because when we pause and empathize and then align with what we really want, collaborate with each other and, agree on an experiment, I believe that's how we can make peaceful progress together.
I love that.
So let's start. First, though, let me go back and let's talk about the book. How did this book come about?
So it actually started as my master's thesis. I was doing a master's in embodiment studies, and I was looking at autism as a condition that really hasn't been written about too much. It's written about, okay, it's been written about a ton, but not from the perspective that I was interested in, which was autism as a condition that affects the mind, the brain, the mind, and the body, right? And so I really wanted to explore what was going on in a bodily way, like why I experienced the world I experienced, and I couldn't find what I wanted to read. So I did a lovely sort of autistic deep dive into all kinds of biology and neurobiology and neuroscience and psychology and this whole philosophy, consciousness studies. It was really amazing. And I had a fantastic faculty. Shout out to my professors at Goddard College in Vermont, which unfortunately, due to education cuts, has since closed, which is a devastating loss to the world because it was really an incredible place, real sort of intellectual ferment going on in there. It was really wonderful. Anyway, so I wrote the book as my master's thesis originally. And then I was approached by New Harbinger, the publisher, to see if I wanted to write something for them. So I said, well, funny you should ask. I'm just finishing my thesis. Would you be interested in something to do with that? So I sent it to the editor there who'd reached out to me, and he loved it. And he said, yeah, we just love this. This is just amazing. We'd love you to do this for us. And then I am, as well as doing my autism work, I'm also a certified level 3 IFS practitioner. So that's kind of how I got started in this world, in this sort of self-exploration world. And so I thought it would be lovely because IFS has been so massively impactful for me and my life. I wanted to include it. It felt weird to write something that didn't include that.
So a lot of my families don't know about IFS. So just
Oh,
yeah,
let me finish this explanation and then I'm going to
okay.
give you a little explanation of IFS because it's massive for people dealing with sort of some interpersonal challenges and conflicts. It's really wonderful. So I had this experience with IFS, but the good thing about me is that I know what I know, and I typically, if I know it really well. I also know what I don't know. Right. So I was able to say, well, if I'm going to write something about IFS, I really should have an expert, and I am not an expert. So I reached out to Martha Sweezy, who has written a gazillion books, and she's very, very well known in this field. She's a professor an associate professor at Harvard. And I said to her, would you be interested in doing this with me? And she said, well, send me what you've got. So I sent it to her and she read it and she wrote back, yeah, that's great. I'd love it. So, we went on this wonderful journey together where we sort of took the foundation that was my thesis, but we changed it because my thesis was obviously very academic.
Mm-hmm.
So we made it much more digestible for people. And then we brought in internal family systems, which is IFS. And Martha did a lot of that. And then we tied it all together to be, entirely about autism. And that's how the book came to life.
And I love the marriage of the academic autism neuroscience with IFS because it makes it practical.
Right.
It makes us now we got something we can try.
Right. And that's what people need. You know, if you go to a bookstore and you're spending some of your very hard-earned money on a book, you want to get something out of it.
Mhm.
Right. And that's what I wanted. That was really important to us, to make sure that we wrote a book that would actually be helpful to people, that people would see themselves in and think, oh, well, this explains this about me. And it explains that about me. And what I found about with other books about autism, that they described me,
Mhm.
but they didn't explain me.
Mm.
And I
Mm.
really wanted to be explained. I had a thirst for being explained my whole life since I was a child. And I received a very late diagnosis at the age of 50, but I can remember as a child just being so conscious of how different I was and not understanding. And so sort of taking on the beliefs that other people held, that I must be the odd one, but at the same time, sort of holding this belief of, well, I kind of really like who I am and my quirky way of being in the world, but I can see the challenges that it has created for me. So I'm glad you said that about the book, and that is the feedback that we have received, is that people are really seeing themselves in it. They're finding it super helpful, and that's everything that we asked for. And the IFS piece, which we can talk about a little bit just to introduce people, is massive. I mean, it's a game changer in terms of giving you just an extra toolbox to use, right? So if you're a parent or you're in a family with a neurodivergent family member, or you're neurodivergent, it's really helpful to have as many toolboxes as possible.
Absolutely.
So internal family systems is a toolbox, a self-contained toolbox that you can sort of package and put up on the shelf and use it when you need to, and that's what I do with it. So a quick intro to it. Internal family systems came about, I think, 30 to 40 years ago. I can't remember the exact period. It was in the 80s. By Dr. Richard Schwartz, who was working with patients who had disordered eating and other, bulimia and some suicidality. And he realized that as he was working with his patients, they would say things like, there's a part of me that wants to do this. Like, for example, there's a part of me that wants to binge, but then this other part of me really doesn't want me to. And then when I do, there's this other part that tells me how bad I am for binging.
Yes.
Right. So what he really focused on was this idea of multiplicity, that at any one moment, we have multiple competing thoughts and feelings and behaviors.
Absolutely.
And we cycle through them all day long, day after day. Right. So parents may be having an experience with their child and they're thinking, I really love my child. I really want to support my child. At the same time as they're thinking, my child is driving me absolutely bananas. Right. I have 3 children. I definitely went through that with mine. So IFS introduces this idea of multiplicity as what we call parts, meaning that these beliefs, the things that we want to do and the things that we don't want to do, came about from when we were children, and that they formed in childhood in response to something in our environment, a parent, a teacher, a friend, something we had too much of or something we didn't have enough of, right? So these parts get formed and they continue operating in the same way, even when we're adults. So IFS gives us the tools to understand which part is active at any one time. And then rather than working to silence them or to get rid of them, the work that we do in an IFS session is actually to move closer to them and to open our hearts to them. And so it's a very beautiful, very compassion-based model. That for me, the most extraordinary gift that IFS offers is understanding of ourselves and love for ourselves and love for our parts and love for behaviors that we may have at different periods in our life been really ashamed of or really disliked or really wished we didn't have. And so this model gives us the tools to understand why we do those things and how we can just be in relationship with those parts of us. because the ultimate goal is survival and well-being.
Well, in the title of his book, No Bad Parts,
right,
tells us to accept that they are there.
Mm-hmm.
There are others out there that call them saboteurs. I don't buy that.
Right. Yeah, it's such a brilliant title. And if anyone hasn't read it, you should definitely get No Bad Parts. And his first book, I don't know if you know his first book, the title of that is You Are the One You've Been Waiting For.
Oh,
which is so brilliant. It still gives me chills and goosebumps when I even say that, because we're socialized to rely on other people to support us, to fix us, to shape us, to mold us, to guide us. And that's true. It's great that we have that, but we can't only rely on that. We have to be self-reliant first.
We have to be guided by what matters most to us.
Right. And we're the only ones who know that.
Right.
And even the most well-meaning friend or teacher or boss or loved one, they don't know us better than we do.
No. It's not possible for them to know us as well.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Because we've got all the thoughts and we share some of them.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Right. And we express them in emotions, which tell us what matters.
Right.
And sometimes we like that and sometimes we don't. I mean, it's hard, this whole relationship piece.
It's really hard. And sometimes the last person that we're in relationship with is ourselves. Right.
And yet, if we can master that, if we can get more comfortable with our own relationship with ourselves, then we can relate better to others.
Absolutely. That's it. That's the heart of it.
That is the heart of it. That is the heart of relationships. Okay. So if we go to the peace practice and we first pause, you have an acronym for pause.
I do.
And I love this framework for helping us understand what's going on inside of us. Because so much goes on, it's hard to sort it out.
Mm-hmm. It's really hard for us to filter through. I mean, it's hard for anyone who's a person in the world.
Yes.
It's really hard for autistics who sort of get so many bombarding and competing sort of messages coming in that our brains are trying to process, that it's hard for us to understand if we're feeling dysregulated, what we might be dysregulated about. Right. And oftentimes for an autistic system, that dysregulation is caused by something in the environment. Mm-hmm. Right. And it's caused by an increase in uncertainty in the environment. Mm-hmm. Something unpredictable has happened. Mm-hmm. Now, that unpredictable thing may not rise to our sort of conscious awareness. It may not. It could be something as, a waistband feeling too tight, or a sound, or not having been able to have your favorite food for breakfast, or a change in expectation of some kind. But it doesn't.
The schedule, I find that one.
Yeah, the schedule's a huge one.
Wow. Yeah, I didn't expect that those people were going to be in the house right now. What am I supposed to do? I usually am in that room and that's where they are, and I can't be where they are. And it just, I can see that happening.
Right. So the way I approach it, and I use the pause framework for this, is we look at what is the unpredictable thing that's happened. Because guiding our way through dysregulation, not every form of dysregulation has an emotional component, right? So people being in your space, yes, you can have an interpersonal interaction around that. Why are you in my space? I'm so furious that you're in my space. You shouldn't be in my space. It's my space, right? Mm-hmm. That's one aspect of it. I would say that has a more emotional base to it. Mm-hmm. And autistic dysregulation, or a response to unpredictability, is the surprise of somebody being in your space, which is totally separate from who the person is and and how you feel about the person and what the person may or may not have done. Right? It could be your favorite person in the world, but if it's surprising, it's not going to feel good. Mm-mm. Right? So I work with people to and we use this framework and IFS to understand what about the reaction how can we trace the root cause of the reaction, right? Is it like what I call a neurological response, which is an autistic response to something, or using IFS, has one of our parts got activated by something that someone said or something that they're expecting, and then they're off on their behavioral loop, and we really don't have control of our emotional center, and we have now become reactive, right? So that's what we're always looking to do, is kind of tease apart to find out what the cause is. Sometimes it's both. Oftentimes dysregulation can lead to parts getting very active, because their job is to bring the system back into homeostasis. That's the job. How do we get the system back in balance? What do we have to do, right? So an environmental trigger, someone being in your space, can then trigger parts to come in and activate. So
for sure. Okay. So then so the process looks like when we pause. Just walk me through what are we supposed to do there?
Through the pause framework. So it is like taking the pause and taking the time to run through, what you have up there on the screen. So the P is for predictability, right? So we're always trying to establish clear expectations and routines, because a clear expectation helps to reduce uncertainty, because we have a lower tolerance for uncertainty. The A stands for arousal, right? So I
put attention there. It's arousal.
Oh, it's arousal. Yeah, it should be arousal, unless it's different in the book, but it should be arousal.
Okay.
Yeah, which is monitoring and modulating the physiological responses that you're feeling in the body.
Okay.
Right? So are you feeling stressed? Are you feeling tired? Are you shutting down?
Yes.
Right? So the arousal is the state of the nervous system. That's what the arousal stands for. And it's separate from emotion, because emotion is the story that we tell ourselves about the cause of the arousal.
Yes.
So the arousal is the physiological state change that happens first.
Okay.
Right. So then we look at uncertainty, right? How much uncertainty is present? Right. So we're always looking to do things like minimize ambiguity in any situation, whether it's in language or expectation, in the environment, in the way we're being talked to, in the things that are expected of us. The S is for sensory. So we want to recognize any sensory processing differences, any sensory impacts of anything around us, our clothing, lighting, those kinds of things. And then the E is for environment, which is sort of on the larger scale, not so much the environment of the room, but more like the people as our environment. So the spaces that we're in, but the interpersonal spaces that we share as well. So we're always looking to shape our surroundings to foster those feelings of safety, which follow when we are in a predictable and trustworthy environment.
Okay. So we're sort of walking through from the tip to the toe, what's going on.
Yeah, or I like to think of it, we're walking from the inside out.
Oh, that's good. That's a good visual.
And we're scoring for uncertainty. And I teach people to do that, to actually give sort of any day or any interaction and what I call an uncertainty score, right? So a high uncertainty score is going to have a higher level of dysregulation. A low uncertainty score, I got to wake up, I didn't have to go to school, I got to wear my favorite clothes, I had my favorite breakfast, I'm watching my favorite TV show, no one's talking to me, my dog is next to me, right? That would be a very low uncertainty score.
Yeah.
So the lower the score, the better we're going to feel.
Right.
And it's a really nice tool to give, especially, to young people or kids, to give them some to allow them to just be more informed about what it is they're feeling and why they're feeling it, as opposed to just labeling them as difficult or out of control or overly sensitive, or all of the things that autistics typically get called.
Yes, because they're non-conformists.
Exactly.
Not fitting into the middle of the bell-shaped curve. So
right,
we tend to pathologize the people that are on the rims,
right,
there or other them for sure. Okay, so now that we know that we're where our uncertainty score is, the E in the peace practice is to empathize.
Love that.
So this is a quote from your book about autistic overload is typically a response to uncertainty in the face of sensory inputs and high levels of arousal.
Mm-hmm.
So what do we do now? How do we tell ourselves it's okay to feel this way?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, that's the first step, is that we have to have conversations like this,
Mm-hmm.
right? So we normalize it to ourselves, and the people around us normalize it.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things we're always trying to do is to reduce uncertainty or unpredictability, right?
Mm-hmm.
Autistic overload is very unpredictable.
Mm-hmm.
So you have the physiological and the emotional response to an autistic overload. Then you have the unpredictability that it's wrapped in of, I don't know when this is going to happen to me.
Mm.
Right? So by understanding what's going on, by scoring the level of uncertainty, for example, you now introduce some certainty, some predictability. Oh, so now I know that if I can't wear my favorite sweatpants or sweatshirt because the laundry hasn't been done, I know I'm going to feel bad about that. You may still have the dysregulation, but you at least can pinpoint what created it, and that in turn then reduces the unpredictability. And so the overloads, we're sort of predicting the unpredictable, so to speak. Right? That's what we start to do, knowing that we can't actually change it because the world is a highly unpredictable place.
So 25 years ago, when 9/11 happened, I was my youngest had a kindergarten screening, and they said there's something different here. And I went back to my car saying, I don't know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, the screening was before, and then 9/11 came along, and then I really didn't know what to do. And that phrase of I don't know what to do is what put me into a depression dip.
Mm-hmm.
It was awful not knowing
Mm-hmm.
what to do to support my adorable, darling children, because
Right.
at that point all six had been diagnosed neurodivergent. I
Mm-hmm.
thought I didn't know what to do,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't know what to do about that that horrendous tragedy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was the first time too that I was watching it on TV over and over again.
Right.
I didn't understand the impact that would have on me.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're helping us figure out the I don't know piece, I think is critical.
It's vital, and also to be able to acknowledge that anytime you don't know anything, it's going to feel terrible.
It felt,
Right.
and
So
all the parents I talk to say they don't know what to do next.
right. So now if you give that situation an uncertainty score,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
what would it be? It would be pretty high, right?
Right. And then when I talk to the young adult, they say, I knew what to do in high school. The rules were really clear. I had support. I had exactly the support I needed so I could get through that.
Mm-hmm.
And when I graduated either from high school or college, now I don't know what to do because there's so many options. And so the I don't know is I hear that, and that's what seems to be at the root cause of us feeling so yucky.
It is. It's a terrible feeling. So uncertainty does have a role in our lives. Right? We don't learn without uncertainty.
No, we have to have some.
We have to have some, but it has to be kept at a tolerable level.
And that's different for everyone.
It's different for every single person, and you're going to have different systems of uncertainty. So for me, for example, I like to hike. I love mountains. My husband and I are flying to Denver on Sunday. My son lives there. We're going to go and see him, and we're going to do some hiking. So you can put me on a hiking trail in the mountains, right? Which has, if you think about the uncertainty score, it's pretty high.
Pretty high, yeah.
Right. For me, it's actually much lower.
Yes.
because I'm outside, there are the trees, you have cell phones now, there's a limit as to how lost you can get, as long, and I'm a very, very sensible hiker. I like to stay on the trail. But if you were to then take me and put me in a restaurant with a group of people, even if the restaurant was, in my town where I live here, my uncertainty score would go through the roof.
Oh, yes.
So it's different for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So having this idea that one size fits all, that, especially if you have multiple children, right? And like I said, I have 3, that, one child would like to go out to dinner to this restaurant and the other child is going to absolutely lose their mind being in a restaurant.
Yes.
Right. And then the third one may just go along with it because they've been taught that they have to go along with everything because they're the youngest.
Yeah.
Right? So it's how do you juggle all of those competing needs, as opposed to bring in this idea of, well, we should, as a family, we should go to restaurants and have dinner. That should be what we do. So the uncertainty scoring helps us get rid of the shoulds. Right. And it helps us to build this framework of, well, what works for me, what works for this child, what works for my husband, what works for my wife, etc. And then we can just keep it more individual and more supportive.
And your book, as I was rereading it, at the beginning talks about how predictability is harder for an autistic brain.
So we have a higher need for it. So it's not so much that it's harder, it's that we get to it differently. So the process is called precision weighting. And what that means is that the brain is constantly determining what to pay attention to and what not to pay attention to.
Right.
And that's the same for all brains, right? It's called noise versus signal. So as you and I are sitting here talking, or as people are sitting or watching, there are multiple things happening in the environment. Right? You're in a room, the room is full of different things. Maybe you have animals in your room, as I do. Maybe there are people nearby. Perhaps someone's mowing the lawn. Maybe they're not mowing the lawn. But there's so much data surrounding us at any one given moment. If the brain paid attention to everything,
it can't.
It can't. We would not have the metabolic resources and we would not be able to function. Okay, so the brain has learned to predict the meaning of our experiences by gathering sensory data. And if it can predict what's happening, it doesn't have to process because it's expecting it. Right? So this is how the brain works. And there's a fantastic body of research into this called the predictive processing framework, which we talk about a lot in the book. So in an autistic brain, that precision weighting piece is different. So an autistic brain cannot easily determine what's noise and what's signal.
Yes, I remember many times my son would say, I don't know what to study. There's too much information.
Right. That's it. And that's just one piece of it, right? That's then, you're sitting here in your space, right? And I'm conscious of my dogs, and my dogs, I just took them for a walk and they went swimming, and they're a little smelly right now. I'm not going to lie, even though they're cute. And so I keep smelling them, and then they're scratching, and then there's a truck outside and the light on my printer is flashing, and all of that is happening as you and I are talking. So I can stay focused in this conversation, but I still am holding all of that as I'm talking to you. Someone without autism is going to be much more likely to be able to filter those things out, right? Someone with ADHD is not going to be able to filter them out, and then they are going to actually focus on those things. I don't have that piece because I don't have ADHD, right? So I don't have my attention being pulled away and then my focus shifting. I can stay focused, but I'm still processing all of this other stuff around me at the same time. And for me, the only time I don't do that is when I go on, my lovely deep dives where I'm reading something or learning something or talking to someone really interesting like you. And then you get really focused.
Yes.
And then
I lose track of time.
Exactly. So then there is no noise. There's only the beautiful signal of, okay, this thing that I'm reading or learning is so incredible. Or playing video games, for example, are really a good example of that. They really help to filter out all of the noise in the environment.
Mm-hmm. For sure, for sure.
So
Oh,
that's the difference. So it's not so much that we struggle with predictability, it's that we get to it differently. And because of the way our brains work, we innately and automatically create it for ourselves with our need for routine, our need for sameness, our restricted and repetitive interests, the ways that we stim, right, the physical actions that we use to create predictability. So an autistic brain is actually, I think, extraordinarily wise. And from birth, autistic children, when they're born, they know what they need. The problem is the rest of the world isn't listening.
It's having a hard time figuring it out sometimes.
Right. You may have a kid who is avoidant of, my daughter hated having her hair brushed. Hated it, would scream and scream and scream and scream if I had to brush her hair because I think it hurt her. Right? Those kinds of things, when you're parenting, become, parental challenges.
Real challenges.
You should let me brush your hair. You should do as you're told. If I tell you you need your hair brushed, you need your hair brushed. Right? And I can remember going through this as a child and going through the exact same thing. And my mother's response was to cut all my hair off, which was brutal for me because I didn't want my hair cut. But her response to having a child who didn't want her hair brushed was, okay, well, if you don't want it brushed, then this is what's going to happen. It's
going to be short.
And it was really short. It was, like a number 3 buzz cut. And I can remember I hated it, But I can also see from her perspective the battle with me day after day or night after night to try and brush my hair. So it's so hard.
It is. It's hard to collaborate and come up with a solution. That this is where we move into the align step. This is where predictability soothes a dysregulated nervous system. And I like to use the align step to agree on what we all want. So, okay, let's just agree on what we're trying for here. We all want a great life. We all want a connected family. We all, it doesn't have to be more than that. It can be just those, we all want to connect and have a great life.
Right.
All right. So this is how we can put that GPS pin drop there. That's what we're heading toward. Here we are. Okay, can we, let's talk about that. What does that look like for you?
So I will say that we could simplify that by saying that what we all want is a regulated nervous system.
Yeah.
Each of us is individual because we can't connect from a place of dysregulation.
We all want to feel good.
Exactly. So how do we get there?
How
you get there might be very different. Like how I get there is to go climb a mountain.
Right.
Right. So how do you get there?
Yeah. Well, I get there at the end of the day when I have a heating pad on my back and I'm watching YouTube.
There you go.
But the other way I really get there is when when the family's having dinner. If they don't have to be sitting around the table, just when we're all kind of together and loving each other in the best way we know possible.
Right. So loving each other. So if you were all getting together and all of you were dysregulated, that's not so much fun, right?
No, in the stories that go on in different people's heads, like they shouldn't be doing that, or I should be doing this so they don't do that. I mean, there's just a lot of expectations.
Tons and tons and tons. Yeah, and that's really where we start to get into the weeds a bit. And who put those expectations there?
Oh, God, they've been programmed in us from day one, right? We brought them to the family before they even came. Our parents, our way of looking at things, the Protestant work ethic, in my case, with my, with my British heritage, everybody brought all that in, and that you will not, don't enable them. All of the warnings we were getting,
right.
I got. from various family members. Yeah, all that stuff we bring to every dinner table conversation.
Right. So
Right.
one thing that's important to recognize is that because of the way our brains work, not just autistics, but all brains, in terms of this being a prediction thinking engine, right? Our brains are actually designed to prefer certainty over uncertainty.
Oh, yeah. Oh, for sure.
Totally.
Yeah,
So
totally.
now what we have to remember is that certainty can sometimes mean something bad,
Yes.
right? We see this a lot with if you're in a violent or an unhealthy
Mhm.
partnership or domestic relationship or marriage. It may be really bad for you, but it's more certain than the alternative. And
Mm.
it's more predictable than the alternative. It's not better, it's just more predictable. And so we're naturally going to gravitate towards that. So that's a really important piece to remember. So when you were saying about your work ethic, your Protestant work ethic from your family background,
Mhm.
right? Where we start to get into trouble and we start to see the rub is we have an expectation of what something should look like. We don't account for whether or not it's good, whether or not it's bad, whether
No.
it's the right thing or the wrong thing. It's what's predictable.
Mhm.
I was raised with this work ethic. I was raised to believe that parenting looks like this.
Mhm.
So now, if I start to try to parent like this, the new way is uncertain and unpredictable.
Yeah.
And it's going to feel bad
Yeah.
because that's its function. It's supposed to feel bad,
Yes.
right? And then we resolve that uncertainty by learning how to do it. And then it gets better.
So how do we bring IFS into this piece?
So our parts carry their own predictions. So let's say you're a child and you have parents who argue a lot.
Mm.
And you learn that if you come home with a really good report card, instead of arguing and your parents not paying attention to you, they actually are so happy with your report card that not only does the arguing stop, but you get lots and lots and lots of positive attention,
Mhm.
right? So that would be a simple example. So this is what that child learns. Do well in school, you'll get positive attention and your parents won't fight so much. So
Mhm.
you just do well in school. So now fast forward 30 years, right? So that child is now an adult and they're a high performing individual
Mhm.
at work and they're absolutely burnt out and they're exhausted, but they don't know how not to do that
Mhm.
because the part that was created in childhood is still running the show, or as we say in IFS, is driving the bus. We always want to know who's driving the bus, right? So for that person, that part is driving the bus. The part that learned that high performance had a positive response
Yes.
is in the driver's seat most of the time. So now trying to shift that, right? And to say, actually, you don't have to work at that level now because things are different. The stakes aren't as high. You're an adult, you have more autonomy, you have more resources, whatever the arguments are. But trying to shift a part from a long held belief. So now you have a part that has a predictable model, not good or bad or healthy, right? But a predictable model. Now we're trying to teach it to do something else, which feels unpredictable and uncertain, and it feels terrible for the part, and the part's totally resistant.
Mhm.
I'm not going to do that. What are you, crazy? Who knows what would happen if I stopped performing well? I'd lose my house. Maybe my wife would leave me. My kids wouldn't have any shoes. Like you hear people talking about all of these things.
Mhm. Mhm. Well, it's the way that they got where they are.
Right. It's that young part
Right.
who learned the behavior, who in our language is running the predictive model. This behavior equals this outcome.
And I see sometimes that I'll want them to adopt that part because then I know that they'll be prepared for life on their own.
Right. Right.
So I say, let's, this is the way.
Right.
And then I catch myself.
Right. Because it may or may not be the way.
May not be the way for them for sure.
Right.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, we teach that part. How do we teach that part to
We have to show it.
we have
So
to
this is where we can use the the science of the neuroplasticity.
yes.
Right.
Yes.
So neuroplasticity basically relates to how we learn.
Okay.
Right. So how do we learn something? How do you learn to play tennis? How do you learn to speak French or Spanish? You practice.
Mm-hmm.
You have to learn. You have to practice. You have to practice, 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 practice. You can't take one Spanish lesson and
No.
expect to be fluent, right? In my case, you can't take 1,000 and expect to be fluent, but you practice and practice. So the same thing happens with parts. You go back to them. You don't need to do this today, remember?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, okay. You don't need to do this today, remember? Oh, yeah, okay. And sometimes we say, you don't need to do this to remember. And they're like, what are you, nuts? Of course I do. Have you been paying attention? Is anyone paying attention here? Of course I have to do this.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And then we just make space for that. But the whole point of
right there, that makes space for that.
Mm-hmm.
Heard Pema Chodron talk about that the other day too.
Right.
Making space for the discomfort of it.
Yeah. Because that in that discomfort is information.
Mm-hmm. It's a trailhead, as you say.
It's a trailhead. Exactly. And so what is that discomfort trying to show us or teach us? What can we learn from it?
That's what she said. She said, thank it. And we all went, what?
Yeah, I mean, she's right. And that's what IFS teaches us, is to thank our parts, even our most extreme parts.
Yeah.
You know, once we understand their motives, they are always working to protect us, even if they're, the ways in which they're doing it are extremely self-sabotaging and not helpful.
Yeah.
They believe they're helping us.
Yes.
But if you don't make space for it, you won't get to the point where you understand that.
Well, that making space is really uncomfortable.
It is, because it's unpredictable.
It's exhausting. At the end of the night, I just want to crawl under the covers.
Yeah.
Put my earbuds in and listen to my yoga nidra so I can sleep.
Mm-hmm.
But I keep going back to the make space.
Yeah. And the making space.
How does it? It's so wise.
It is. It's really wise, because it's a mindfulness practice.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And a mindfulness practice, the thing that they all have in common is that they teach us to be present.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And if we're stuck in an emotional reaction, or, in an IFS language, apart, we're not present.
No,
we're in the behavior.
Right.
And there's no awareness of the behavior. There's only the behavior.
Right.
So the making space allows us to notice the behavior.
That's the watcher.
And that's the key.
Yes. That's the neutral watcher. Oh, notice what's happening.
Right.
Wow.
I'm so furious with my husband right now because he did X, or I'm so disappointed that my friend didn't do this for me. You have to be able to notice what you're feeling.
Right.
Because then you can say, there's a part of me that's so disappointed that this happened.
Yes.
As opposed to, I'm so disappointed, which sort of relates to the entirety of you. Right? Because the truth is, you are not entirely disappointed.
Right.
There's probably a part of you that might really understand, right? But you want to be able to be with the part that's disappointed without them taking over and running the show.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Because you want your core, yourself, to run.
Yeah, our self-energy, exactly.
Yes.
And in IFS, our self-energy is what's available to us when our parts aren't running the show.
So is what we're trying to do when we align, is to align with our self-energy.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a lovely word. It could be aligning with our self-energy. It could also be aligning our self-energy with our parts.
Okay.
So that's where it becomes really helpful, when you can have a part that may have just got really angry and had an outburst, for example. You notice the behavior, but you can hold space for it, right? So now you're aligning with that part of you. I understand why you did that. I get it.
at my core, I want to be compassionate
Yeah.
and curious and all those lovely C words that
Mm-hmm.
in the IFS. I mean, all 8 of them that I don't have mapped.
Right. Right.
Right. Right. Oh, wow. I can't wait to practice this. Okay. So then the C part in the piece practice is the collaborating. So
Mm-hmm.
it's on the IFS, the parts to help them get into relationship with the self, orient to the present, resolve conflicts, and collaborate with each other. That's
Mm-hmm.
your book.
And so that's also your alignment, right? They're
Mhm.
all aligned, and the system is like, oh, that's
Mhm.
nice. That feels good.
That feels better. That feels better.
Mm-hmm.
And in this step, I love it when we take turns.
Right.
So here's my idea. La la la. What's yours? And you can do that with your parts.
Mm-hmm. It's a brilliant thing to do with your parts, right? Here's my idea. Let's have a meeting. Let's bring in the committee. Let's seat them at the table. And I want everyone to tell me what they think,
Mhm.
right?
So do you have names for your parts? Is that how you help yourself go through them all? Or do you
I
find
don't
a way?
so much. No, some people do.
Yeah.
People have really wonderful creative ways of exploring their parts. They're very visual. They use external things like toys or objects.
Yeah.
Some people do name them. I don't. It's just not how I experience mine. I tend to use what they trigger in me, like my inner critic, or my shamer or my blamer, you know. So I use that kind of language more than I.
What about my hypervigilant part?
Oh yeah.
Right.
my manager part.
And my hyper logical part. But that doesn't make any sense. Right. I
Right.
want it to make sense. Because if it makes sense, it's predictable, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's why
Right.
we lean toward the logic so much. I see that happen.
Oh yeah. I mean, an autistic brain is totally wired for that. I mean, we're systems thinkers, we're problem solvers. We're the people who come into an organization and say, well, that's stupid. That doesn't work. Like, why are you doing that? And no, right? And then we sort of get into all these interpersonal conflicts with people because people are like, what are you talking about? We've been doing this for 30 years and it works great. And we like to come in and we don't mean to do it that way. We're really good at spotting those things.
Mm-hmm.
And if we spot them, we cannot unsee them.
It's like it's got to be said.
Right. Because it's a problem to be solved. Life is full of problems to be solved.
Yes. Yes. But that doesn't work very well in corporate environments.
That's why I was fired from every job I ever had.
Really? And now you're working for yourself. And isn't that much better?
Oh my gosh. I started working for myself in my late 30s, mid 30s. And it was a total game changer for me.
Me too. Yeah. First, I was a full-time mom. And then in my 50s is when I started my first business. And I just thought, why didn't I do this from the beginning?
Right.
Well, actually, the first job I had was the sales rep, and it was very independent. I was up and down the Northern California coast, gorgeous place. And I decided what I did and when I did it and who I interacted with, and I was very successful. And then I went to the corporate environment, and it all was so much harder.
Right.
Much harder. So now it makes a lot of sense to me now. Okay, then if we consulted with all of our parts, and then we decide what we're going to experiment with. So autistic parts update when we listen to their experiences and understand their motives. Tell me more about that.
So what we mean is that in order for the emotional prediction, the expectation, right? We call it model updating. And that's what learning is.
Mm-hmm.
In order for the part to learn that something new is possible, we first have to understand how they got there. What are they afraid of? How long have they been doing it? What is it they do for you? How do they help you? What do they worry would happen if they didn't do that for you? Right. So in using my example, that part of you that pushes you to perform at such a high level, what does it worry would happen if you didn't? Right. And you have to listen to all of that first. So you listen to their experiences and you understand their motives.
Yeah. I'd get bored. I'd feel less valuable. I would be feel stagnant. I would, it would be so unfamiliar to me, it would be very uncomfortable if I
Right.
didn't perform.
Right. So then you acknowledge that and you validate that. That makes so much sense to me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Really understand. And then you might ask something like, is there any part of you that wants it to be different? Are you tired? Do you like performing at this level? Right. So now you start to bring in, once you have the understanding built, now you start to bring in an alternative possibility. And that's the updating piece.
That you can see yourself doing,
Mm-hmm.
picture yourself doing that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I had to do in this position. I had to say 9 to 5.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I sneak in sometimes on the weekends. All right.
We won't tell anyone.
Don't tell anyone. Or I read, you know,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm at my desk. I leave my desk at 5 because I would work and work and work and work and work. And then I got sick multiple times, right? Seriously sick the last time. And I said, hey, you got to break this.
Mm-hmm.
So now I know when that part starts talking, it's like, okay, well, look at your whole life.
Mm-hmm.
Look at, and that's where the life GPS that we use to determine what it is that we have already done. Good news, you've done a
Mm-hmm.
lot, and what do you want next? Because human beings are never done,
Right.
right? Okay, so of all the things you want next, what's next? And that's how we figure out what the experiment needs to be.
Yeah, that's great.
And it has to matter.
Mm-hmm. And it has to be honest. You know, it's like we can't say to parts, okay, listen, if you stop doing that, I can guarantee everything's going to be okay. Like we can't say that to them because we can't guarantee anything, but we have to be realistic. So what we can say is, if you stop doing that, I am certain that between all of us, we'll figure it out.
You're going to be all right.
Right. And we will be okay. It may not be okay, but we will be okay because we will figure it out. We can resource now, and we couldn't resource when we were children.
Oh, I see. So you're saying to each of the parts, they can join together in the service of the self.
Mm-hmm.
Get what we really want.
Right. So we integrate. We integrate each of the parts.
So I hear your concern. This is how we're going to take care of that. I hear your concern. That's how we're going to take care of that. I hear your concern.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to do it as an experiment. This isn't something we have to do for the rest of our lives. Let's do it a couple, 3 times and see what
Right.
happens and learn.
Right. 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 Will you guys, talking to your parts, will you guys give me enough space for us to try? Will you trust me to at least try it? And then if it doesn't work, then you can hop back in and we'll go to the old way.
Mm-hmm.
But what would it be like to try it? What would it be like for you to not work so hard? And you can ask the part directly. Your high performing part, chances are when you connect with them, they're probably exhausted.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's ever told them that they have the choice. Right. So if you start to offer this as a new alternative possibility, that's when the update happens. And that's when the behavior shifts. But the behavior won't shift if the part has not been updated because it's not safe to.
Mm-hmm.
It's too unpredictable.
You talked about in our earlier conversation about safety and how we need to frame that up in a good way. Tell me a little bit. That feels like that needs to be addressed now.
Yeah, because I feel like safety is one of those words that gets tossed around all the time. And people say, it's not safe for me to speak my mind, or I don't feel safe to do this.
Mm-hmm.
And I would really love to see us start thinking a little more critically about what that actually means. Is safety the right word?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So if you're married to, and there are times where it isn't safe, and safe is absolutely the right word to use. So I'm not disregarding the word at all. I'm just saying that we should use it more appropriately.
Mhm.
So if you have, let's say you're at work and your boss says something that you don't agree with, but you don't know how to speak up for it, and then you're telling, your partner at home, well, I just don't feel safe to say anything. Safety might not quite be the right word. You may be uncomfortable. There may be a high level of uncertainty and unpredictability there. You may get an arousal spike, right? And a big spike of dysregulation at the thought of saying it. But that does not mean you're not safe.
Okay.
It just means that you're experiencing.
Okay.
Right.
Okay, because not all high arousals are unsafe.
Right. And in fact, high arousal doesn't mean you're not safe. It just means that there's a high level of arousal. Like I experience a high level of arousal when my dogs start barking. I mean, to the extent that I will become a lunatic in about 8 seconds when my dogs start barking if they don't stop when I ask them to stop. I'm experiencing an intense level of arousal, which if they could somehow, monitor my biomarkers, I'm sure they'd sort of shoot up through the roof,
yes.
Right?
Yes.
Physiologically, I could describe that as danger. But it isn't. I'm not at risk.
Right.
Nothing bad is going to happen to me, but what I'm experiencing feels bad. And so this is where I like to be very careful with the language that we use in terms of ascribing emotion words to state changes.
Tell me more about that.
Because anxiety is a good one. So many autistics are diagnosed with things like generalized anxiety disorder. Okay, so I like to be really careful about that because you may not be anxious. You may be in a state of high arousal. So high arousal, my dog's barking, right, is different to the anxiety that I might feel or that I felt on 9/11, for example. That was anxiety, right? My dog's barking is arousal. They feel exactly the same.
They do.
But they do the symptoms, right? What's the difference between
the vibration in the body feels the same?
It's the same. Yeah. So what's the difference between the excitement that you feel when you're a child the night before your birthday and the anxiety, and I'm using air quotes, the anxiety that you feel when you have to present in front of people? Physiologically, it's very similar. But we give them a different name.
Yes, we do.
And so then we start to tell ourselves a different story. So if we can recognize them as state changes and not give them a name, we can slow things down a little bit. And for the IFS people, that then means that your parts don't have to jump into problem solve. But if you experience a state change and you call it anxiety, now you're going to have a system of parts coming in. Okay, well, how do we reduce the anxiety? What do we have to do? Should I take a medication? Should I not go outside? Should I stay in my house? Right? When in fact, it's okay to just acknowledge, I'm definitely having an arousal spike right now because I'm about to go to the grocery store. That's totally okay. So we want to, again, it's normalizing.
That's what Dr. Russell Kennedy suggests, the author of Anxiety RX, and his program suggests sensation without explanation, that not every sensation needs an explanation.
That's it. And many of them don't have one.
Yeah.
And we need to be okay with that.
Yeah.
But we like to name everything.
And yes, we do.
Because by naming it, we're reducing the uncertainty of the thing itself, right?
Yes. Such a rich body of work you've been doing.
Thanks. I mean, I'm standing on the shoulders of other people like Lisa Feldman Barrett. Her book, How Emotions Are Made, is phenomenal. I highly recommend that. Dick Schwartz's book, No Bad Parts. There are so many other incredible people that I have learned from, and I'm just sort of taking their work and synthesizing it and using it, with my particular population.
Mhm.
But it's just so fascinating, all of the things that we can learn and how we can just take some of the pressure off ourselves.
Well, thank you so much because I find the people that truly understand just autistic adulting are few and far between.
Mhm.
For me to find resources about childhood, but
Right,
finding experts who have really thought about how to live as an adult with an autistic brain are fewer and further between. And I'm watching that change, but slowly,
right, right.
but
Yeah.
very slowly. And then
Mm.
that transition between school and adulthood, it hits both, you got your feet in both places, but
Right.
there's so much
Absolutely.
uncertainty around adulthood. And um, that's why your work is so important,
Yeah.
who are helping people through that transition, through
Yeah.
that difficult, tricky pivot
Mhm.
from being externally defined to being internally defined.
Right.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. It was lovely chatting with you. So
I
good.
love it. I love it. And I just really want anyone who has an opportunity to go get your book and read it and then read it again. What I've had to do. It's like every time I read it, I see something else that I didn't pick up the first time. So by the time I'm done, the poor book's going to be highlighted everywhere. It
That's a sign of a good book.
is.
You know, dog-eared pages and post-it notes and
Yes. Well, in my case, it's all electronic because I hate dusting.
there you go. Well,
But
that's
not
good.
as it is. So,
And there is an audio book coming out soon, so
oh,
that will be good for people who prefer to listen.
are you going to be the narrator or are you going
I
to?
did narrate it. Yes, I
Oh, you
did.
have such a lovely voice. That'll be fun to
Thank
listen.
you.
Very soothing.
Thanks.
All right. Well, thank you again.
You're
And
welcome. It was lovely chatting with you.
I so appreciate it. And I know my people are going to love it.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye for now.
Bye.